here for another episode of Dietitian Talk. As I've mentioned before, I am a registered dietitian and I've been in the field for about 7 years now. I also have a certificate in adult weight management as well through the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. So today I'm here to talk to you about one of my favorite topics, diet soda. Gotta love it. Everyone asks me about diet soda. People that follow me on Instagram, YouTube, you've seen my flexible days of eating, you've seen my Instagram videos, and you see that I may have some of these delicious looking beverages on occasion. And it's very common that I get asked, is that okay? Can you drink those? What about getting cancer? Diet soda and artificial sweeteners are horrible for you. So I'm here today to talk and touch on this subject lightly to give you my professional opinion on diet sodas and what the research shows right now. And what I do want to caution with as well, this is a very hot, controversial topic. Just because I'm a dietitian doesn't mean all dietitians agree on every topic, So I'd like to just kind of preface that not every dietitian is going to have the exact same view that I have. What I will point out is my view is basically in line with the academy that registers me, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. They have put together an evidence-based analysis library, which is amazing reference for myself. And what they do is they look at some common hot popular topics. They look at all the research that's out there. They look at the meta-analysis and they critique how good the research studies are. Number one, because I commonly hear people say, well, research says this. Guess what? You have to go a little bit deeper than that and you have to see how good the study is. So the Academy looks at, number one, the research, number two, how good those research studies are, and three, they basically come up with their conclusions based on all that information. So for me as a professional, it makes my life a hell of a lot easier. So I'm just throwing that out there for this video, for future videos. This is basically what I reference a lot of times is their what they've looked at with the research. Okay, so talking about diet soda, a couple of things to talk about. One of the hottest things right now when you Google diet soda, when you look at the research, it talks about diet soda can actually cause an increase in appetite. So that's one of the things that's kind of going out there right now. In the studies, there's been some studies done, not a lot, talking about this. The thought is when you drink diet soda, and actually this doesn't relate to diet soda only, this could be in relation to if you're just putting a stick of chewing gum in your mouth as well with artificial sweeteners. The thought is your mouth starts that process of digestion and it sends a signal to your brain thinking, kind of preparing your body that you're going to get some food. This is kind of the thought behind it, that your brain's gonna be like, okay, I'm starting to break down some things in my mouth, some things are happening, the signal from your stomach gets sent to your brain, and in preparation for food coming in. And the thought is that because no food enters the body, the liquid that you're consuming has no calories in it, the thought is that then someone is going to have an increase in appetite, an increase in hunger, and then start eating some food that maybe they shouldn't be. And the thought along that line too is that it stimulates those taste receptors because diet soda is extremely sweet. Artificial sweeteners are anywhere from like 30 to 8,000 times sweeter than regular sugar. So the thought is it stimulates those taste receptors to crave something very sweet. Now, this is just the thought, the theory out there, and I'm telling you there's no conclusive evidence to support this. There is no scientific evidence to support that, yes, this is what's going on. And actually the the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics does not support that theory at this point in time. It's just a theory, it's just something that's hypothesized and is not really proven. And this is one of those subjects that it's really hard to prove because when they study this stuff, it's like, what's really the bottom line here? What really causes people to eat more? It's just one of those things that's kind of really hard to tease out. I know I've grew up on diet soda. I grew up on artificial sweeteners. I've never once felt like it's caused me to have an increase in appetite by any means. But that's just myself, speaking of myself. Okay, so the other thought is with diet soda, some people talk about that it could lead to cancer. I hear that a lot as well, with the artificial sweeteners being horrible for you, could cause cancer. Now the research has gone back quite a ways, back to the 70s when they did research on, typically the research starts with lab rats. Rats, I feel like, are very different than people, but there were some studies done back with saccharin, which is basically your sweet and low, done with lab rats, and that they found that the lab rats got bladder cancer and a couple different types of cancer. So then began this scare that if anything contained saccharin, it was linked with possibility of cancer, yada, yada, yada. Okay, it was then researched a little bit later in life that male rats apparently have a higher risk of bladder cancer regardless of their artificial sweetener intake. So they then kind of took that risk away, and they said, no, this actually is not linked with the artificial sweetener intake. There's been some studies done in humans. I don't think it's been, we've had enough time to really research it in humans, but there's been some studies done in humans as well, looking at regular soda drinkers versus diet soda drinkers. And some of those studies, and they're very small and they're very few, have shown that some of the diet soda drinkers actually gain more weight than the group of regular soda drinkers. Okay, it's still, again, in that study, it was hard to tease out what caused the weight gain. We're kind of in this world where, I mean, if you look at the statistics, the amount of people who are obese and are gaining weight are more than half the population. So to point the finger at the diet soda, it's a little hard to believe as a professional, and that is the cause. Metabolically, I don't believe it's the cause, and physiologically, in terms of grabbing, a piece of cheesecake after having a diet soda, I just don't buy it, and the research isn't there. So really, even though that study showed that the diet soda group gained some weight, that was just one study, and again, they didn't really know what the bottom line was. How do you relate it to that? And we live in a world too, it's the Big Mac world. Like, how many people actually go to McDonald's and Burger King and they buy their whatever meal, but I'll take a Diet Coke, please. I mean, it's very common that a lot of diet soda drinkers also just eat like shit, like half the world does. You know what I'm saying? So it's really hard to point out and place the blame on diet soda. Bottom line is, it is a non-caloric sweetener. It's very sweet. For me, it actually helps decrease my cravings for sweets, especially in competition prep. I can have a diet soda, and yeah, there's some sodium in it, there's some other things in it, there's other ingredients there, sure, but it can actually help satiate me, I find, in terms of my sweetness. The carbonation, the volume fills up your stomach. Everyone's different, you guys, and you'll hear me say that a lot. And again, in this video, I am speaking generally, so I know on my last video I got some comments about people with certain medical issues, so I'm just speaking to the general public right now. I will say the American Diabetes Association does recommend, and not encourage, but they're completely in support of the use of artificial sweeteners, especially for diabetics. This can really help you because those artificial sweeteners do not have any effect on your blood sugar. So it can actually be helpful if you're a diabetic. And like I said, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics also supports the use of artificial sweeteners. Now, what I will say as well is it does not mean drink 18 of these a day, although Homegirl totally could, because I love both of these. You need to be mindful of how much you use of artificial sweeteners. Artificial sweeteners are regulated by the FDA, by the Food and Drug Administration. They do regulate those things that go into your drinks. It's not just in diet soda, it's in your food as well. So as a dietitian, I'm telling you to still be mindful of how many artificial sweeteners you're consuming in your diet. There are recommendations out there. It's called the GRAS, the GRAS, generally recommended as safe. That's put out there by the FDA, and they give some recommendations on how much you should have of certain food items, and that does include artificial sweeteners. So you can take a look at those for your own recommendations, but you should still moderate it. You know, in terms of diet soda, I do love it, but I will tell you, I think it's good to limit to maybe 1 to 2 12-ounce sodas a day, maybe one preferably. And the reason why I say that is not because I think it's going to cause you to gain weight or cause you to crave sweets or make you get cancer. Generally speaking, for hydration, the best source is water. Your body utilizes water for so many functions in the body. The diet soda, it does give you some hydration depending on what you're drinking, but not to the extent water does. So my recommendation for you guys is definitely to drink water. Make that your main source of hydration, but it's okay to have a diet soda. It's okay to have one a day. I don't believe it's going to kill you, and right now the research does not support that either. I could go on and on about this topic. There's a lot to say in regards to artificial sweeteners as well, but this is the information as I've seen it right now, and right now that the Academy supports. So hopefully this helped clarify things a little bit for you. Like I said, for those Googlers out there, there's tons of information out there. It makes it very confusing, I think, for the average consumer. This is one of those things I would not worry about. Be mindful of how much you're consuming of it. Make sure you're drinking lots of water, and I think we're all going to be okay. This is Carol Lee. Keep checking back for more dietitian talk. Evidence-based opinions on some of the topics that you've asked me questions about. So for those of you that don't already know, I am a registered dietitian credentialed through the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. So for today's topic, one of the topics you guys asked me about was how to count your carbs.